Hey guys, welcome back to SLT Learning, and this is Ankit Prajapati, and today we're gonna cover another question on API side for registration and API for QA automation job role. Even though if you're applying for a manual tester, I would just say just go through this playlist because that will help you, because API is a crucial topic for you when you're applying for the QA or manual or automation engineer role. Okay, so let's see what we're gonna cover today. What do you do when requirement for API change frequently? Okay, so again, I know last couple of questions are related to API, but I will suggest that we will also relate it to your UI or any kind of testing as well. Okay, so how do you tackle the requirement which has changing frequently on specific topic? Okay, so what you can do, so I will just say from my experience, first thing I will ask the developer or the business team or product team, okay, can you just let me know which document or which particular specific document or area I need to refer as a final requirement. Okay, I do not want to refer the changing requirement. What document I should refer while creating a test case in manual or automation side or API side, which requirement I should refer. Okay, so that is the first thing. Most of the times what will happen in my experience, right, the requirement change they might be happening on the document side, but when they create the user story, okay, at that time they make sure on a user stories they will get the final requirement, and as a QA I should always refer the user stories to create the test cases. Okay, so this kind of things you can put on your project and try to make sure when you have that particular things on your this kind of challenges in your project, this is how you should start your tackling the project. Okay, so when API requirement keep changing, the key is to adapt it quickly without letting JavaScript in your particular testing process. Okay, and just make sure you are also bit frequent to adapt the changes. It should not always work, because in software side everything can be changed within a 5 minutes. Okay, so you have to be ready on the this kind of situations to adopt that particular things in your behavior. When the something goes changed, you can change your test cases, you can change the documentation, which are you are honor of the documentation or not. Then those kind of responsibility you need to take when you are working on this kind of environment. Okay, where the requirement is changing, but you can narrow down, you can just go, you can use some prerequisite, you can adopt some practice to have that you can solve this kind of challenges in your working day-to-day activities. Okay, so lock down the communication channel. First things that you need to make sure, have a single source of truth, means you should have a single source of the truth, means API specifications. Either you can refer Swagger, OpenAPI, Confluence page, or API documentation, or API repo, anything. Okay, you should have a single source of truth, and that could be the final things that you should always refer. Okay, so it could be the Swagger, OpenAPI, or Confluence page, and in my case it was a Confluence page, so we normally refer that page as we consider as API documentation over there itself. Okay, and you can also refer the Swagger as well, where you can see all the syntax and all this information. Set up the change notification for your purpose. Okay, so if anything's changing API specification, if some new git commit done by the developer in that specific API, you should get a alert in your Slack or Teams channel, and it should be under the channel API change announcement, so you know, okay, this particular API has been changed and this is the modification has been done, so you can modify your test case in manual or automation side. Okay, so this is the one practice. Lock down your communication channel, have a single source of API specs, and then set up the alerts, notification alerts for you. Okay, ask the product owner or business analyst to maintain the change log for each update. So whenever the API will get changed, change log will be always a crucial part for any product. Okay, you should always refer the change log by the version wise and the date of the release, and that will help you to maintain and to update your test cases accordingly. Okay, then version control the API. Encourage the developer to use the versioning on the API, like version 1, version 2 in your their API endpoint itself. Okay, so it will help you while you are raising a bug as well. That will help you to do the things, and it will also help you to I will just say the identify on which API or which version you are running that particular you are testing or not. Okay, so if they cannot version the API, least maintain the branch based environment like staging environment, dev environment, or something like that way. If they are not, this is okay. Maintaining the version, like creating the different folder v1, v2, v3, something like that, it is not feasible for our working environment. But so what you can ask them, okay, in that case just maintain the API based on the environment wise. Production API will be different, and staging API will be different, and the development API will be different. So you can maintain the test case, and you can run the test case and your regression test case suit whenever the API change is implemented. Okay, easily. So version control the API. Then make a test flexible. So just make sure the few of the things, right? As we know, the data driven things, then we need to also add up the environment driven things. So always make sure in your JSON schema validation in Postman or REST assure, you should only update the one schema file instead of the 100 of assertion. Okay, limit your assertion with the specific things that you need to update. Okay, keep the request payload, endpoint payload, and expected value in the config file, not hard coded in the script, so you can easily change the based on the different environment. Okay, it could be the production or it could be the test environment or something like that. Create a modular API test function. So if any field got changed, you can only modify the reusable method rather than changing the complete implementation of the API methods. Okay, so create the separate function for that one as well. In Postman, if you have seen, right, we use the environment variable. The QA environment, we have the QA list of QA environment variable. For production, we have same environment variable with the different value which is specific to the production, and same apply to the staging or any other environment in your project. Okay, so make sure your tests are flexible enough to adopt such kind of the data. You can easily modify. Do not store anything on your, do not hard code anything in your API test case. Always try to make it on a separate function, so you can easily maintain and modify the information. Okay, if any change come. Continuous sync with the development team. Attend API design discussion early. Okay, if you are working on API testing, then attend the API design related discussion. If any changes there, just note it down in your things before the actual coding start. Ask for the mock server like Postman mock server or Wire mock. Most of the time we use Postman mock server when the API is unstable or still evolving. So request early head up and for breaking change so you can start your testing and you can prepare the testing better way. So continuous communication with the dev team or the business team will be always necessary in this kind of things. So if any API getting changed, you will be remain updated well before, and you can maintain your test case or update your test case accordingly. Okay. Document every change. Maintain an API change tracker, Excel, Confluence page, or Jira dashboard where the change date, what change, endpoint, field name, data type, authentication method, or something like that. Reason for change and impact on testing and action taken. So this is kind of things you need to maintain from your side as a QA, because this will be helpful for you when anything like any, I will just say, the misunderstanding or miscommunication will happen in your test case, or when you are raising a bug and this already change and you need to update your test case. Then at that time you should refer this kind of information that you have created for yourself. And most of the times senior QA have these things with them, so they can see for the UI side, for the API side, what kind of changes, major changes I would just say, they will maintain like that way in Excel or in the Jira dashboard itself. Okay, then automate the regression early. Okay, that means have a baseline regression suite that run on every API, some kind of like the basic call like post call, get call. Do not do the variation on the payload. The basic call you should always keep on ready on your automation side. When the change break test, verify it's due to update requirement or before breaking a defect. Okay, so whenever your API failed, that could be the many reason. That could be the reason from the server side, from the network issue, from the service is not up and running, many issue, right? It is not always that happen because of the change in the API or the requirement change. So always make sure if your test case or if your API test break, always try to verify it's due to the requirement update or it's another issue that caused that particular break in the API. Okay, so those kind of things you can work to tackle this kind of environment where the requirement is frequently changed on API side. Yep, I think this is more than enough to answer in your interviews. And if you like these questions and answers, please subscribe to our channel so we can come up with such more videos. We mainly focus on the questions that we get from the candidates. So if you are also appearing on a real interview and if you have such questions, okay, please share in a comment and we will prepare the video for you, so it will be always remain with you and your colleague as well, so they can refer before the interviews. Okay, Thank you again. Thank you for watching.